This is very bad. That's better. We have the Torah from Irene, and followed by some interesting nothing from Harry. So, Irene, it's over to you.
Thank you, Morris. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Kabbalat Shabbat today. Just a few thoughts from our Sedra, which is Vayera. We know that Abraham and Sarah, the parents of the Jewish nation, were well known for hospitality and their chesed. There are many examples, of course, and one is that they adopted Lot and his family, and they shared everything with him. And even when they parted company and he went to live in the east, Abraham went to war to save him, although Lot didn't show much gratitude for that. Our Sedra this week also starts with chesed, because Vayera begins with three complete strangers experiencing great hospitality from Abraham, even though it was shortly after his Brit. Sarah also plays her part. She did the cooking just as Abraham requested her. This is followed shortly afterwards by Abraham trying in vain to save the inhabitants of Sodom and Amorah. We read and learn so much from Abraham and Sarah about how to treat other people. And indeed, we try to emulate their standards in our everyday lives. However, let's just think about the episode with Hagar and Ishmael. At first sight, we see that Sarah seems full of jealousy, which we can understand given the circumstances. But when Abraham is told by Hashem to do as Sarah demands, whatever happened to the chesed? How could Abraham and Sarah entertain strangers and then send away Abraham's own flesh and blood with insufficient food and water? In answer to this, Rashi tells us that it is Hagar who takes all the responsibility for her son Ishmael's near death. Abraham supplied them with more than enough bread and water to make it to the next town, but Hagar quickly changed course, heading towards the idolatry of her father's home. And the Torah then shows Hagar at her worst as she totally abandons Ishmael, who is only saved by Hashem's miracle. But still there's a question, why did they need to be banished in the first place? We're told that Sarah's actions were motivated by her sense of responsibility for the continuity of the Jewish nation. She didn't like the bad influence Ishmael was having on Yitzchak, and she foresaw this would continue in the future if she didn't act. Although it was many years earlier that Abraham rightly parted from Lot, Sarah also knew that Yitzchak and Ishmael would also adopt very separate cultures, so the less time they would be in each other's company, the better. Maybe there's another item. As the Torah says, Sarah became pregnant with Yitzchak directly after she and Abraham had left King Avimelech, who had been told by Abraham that Sarah was his sister. With the result, she was taken into his royal palace. There were those who would naturally presume that Sarah's miraculous pregnancy, after decades of barrenness, resulted from her stay in the private palace. In fact, Sarah herself would have preferred to have become pregnant a bit later to avoid this inappropriate embarrassment. But in a way, it was part punishment by Hashem for her for laughing when she got the news that she would have a son and heir. Unless this rumor was proven to be unfounded, Sarah knew that Yitzchak would face relentless pressure from Ishmael and all his descendants, that he, Ishmael, alone was the rightful heir of Abraham. So by persuading Abraham to banish Ishmael in favor of Yitzchak, they were sending a big message that Yitzchak was indeed Abraham's real son and not the result of a liaison with Avimelech. Sarah realized that when it comes to Jewish continuity, the traditional rules of chesed and hospitality had to be deferred, and Hashem agreed. Today, we're also facing real challenges to the continuity of our people from increasingly hostile world of anti-Semitism. But this isn't new, is it? Islam's first attempt to delegitimize the Jewish people was all but deleting Yitzchak from the Quran, and they're still trying. But what we have to do is what we have to do to show Hashem that we are true to our faith, true to our people, true to the Torah, true to Hashem, true to the land of Israel. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Irene. That's very interesting and very pertinent today.